social justice is not a term that we should be embracing. I did some research and some reading. I'm not going to get too extensive into citing these sources, but I would encourage everyone, when you have the time, just type in social justice, history of the term, use of the term social justice, the etymology of social justice, and read and investigate for yourself. But I've done that, but I will read. One was from Oxford Dictionary, and this definition is justice in terms of the distribution of wealth, opportunities, and the privileges within a society. Okay, that's Oxford. And I found a link in Black's Law Dictionary, which reads, a fair and proper administration of the laws that conform to the natural law that covers all people regardless of gender, origin, possessions, or religion. And it also says, see civil rights. Now I'm going to talk about, for us, why social justice is not a term that we should use, we should not embrace, we should not adopt it into our dialogue, into our lexicon or vernacular, because this word simply just doesn't apply to us. Now, in my reading and my research, I found that the earliest use of the term social justice may go back into Europe, back even into the 1500s. But you can definitely find it in the latter 1700s and the 1800s. Now, okay, yes, in the United States, particularly amongst a certain people of the church, and also the term social justice has some link to church orders and the clergy. There was an abolitionist movement. Maybe they didn't believe in other things, but maybe they didn't believe in slavery necessarily. But in general, the most common use of the term social justice would be what I would call, quote unquote, racially benign. Okay? And what I mean when I say that is, see, you need to understand that in this country, the so-called United States, certain terms have certain meanings. People use certain words and phrases, and they say them or they use them with dog whistles. So when they're saying something, you may think that they're saying one thing, but to them or to another group of people, it means something completely different. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Just like there's terms, even legal terms, that in America, they mean one thing, but internationally, they have no legal bearing or definition whatsoever. Okay? Now, and I'm not going to make this a big history lesson. I'm just going to give very general overviews. Now, in the history of Europe, with the, you can even go back to what Athenian Greek democracy really was, because it was an Athenian Greek democracy for the elites, for the wealthy, not for common people. Or the Romans in Europe with the feudal system, feudalism with feudal lords, the tenant farmer system, basically very similar to the same pyramid scheme system you have here, from the top all the way down to the bottom. Okay, and even here in the what will be called the United States, where earlier on you had a system of European white indentured servitude, even if it was voluntary, and through the years it's just simply been modified. So if you understand world history, if you understand European history, and if you understand American history, you would know that even simply just amongst whites themselves, whether if it was, say, like the Magna Carta or something else, you would know that with the demonstrations, protests, riots, uprisings, insurrections, revolutions, you name it, wars, mobs that they've had what would be called quote unquote civil rights or quote unquote social justice. They've had these grievances even amongst themselves. Okay. Now, in these definitions, when you're looking at the basis of the definition, you have a premise, and then the premise should work towards a certain end. So the premise is essentially what would be called egalitarianism, that everyone should be treated as equal. So you work towards that goal to get to the finish point and the solution to where everyone is equal. Now, in the system and the ideology of white supremacy of the dominant society, this is simply not possible. Okay? You know, yes, you could say that certain quote unquote progress has been made, but do you think in a system by them and playing by their rules, when they have the control, they have the power, they call the shots, do you think that you're going to get any true cross the board egalitarianism? You're not. Okay? It's just simply not possible. The script would have to be flipped to where they no longer have the control, they no longer have the power, they no longer can manipulate the system the way that they have. Either that, or where we would separate ourselves from their authority, from their reach, from their intervention and manipulation, and go do things a different way. But under the current system, and the way the system has been for centuries, and you can even say millennia, eons from a greater historical standpoint, there will be no social justice. There isn't even regular justice in this land and in this system. When you look at America, America has broken, particularly to the people within their borders, it would be said, America has broken every single treaty, every single deal. There is no justice in this land. You will not get any social justice in this land. There is no true civil rights in this land. And I'm not someone who wants to sit by and wait for things to change to see if maybe the power structure would be different. I'm not going to hold my breath for that. But what I will do, I will make moves so I can place myself and the people around me and like-minded individuals under a different circumstance, to where we can make our own rules and we could create our own policies and we could be free of any reach or intervention. And that's what the goal of this channel is about. So I understand where it comes from. I'm not a really big protest, demonstration, let's take it to the streets type of person. You know, it has its places, I guess, but I'm more about making moves, making power moves, or making money moves. Social justice is not our fight.